Welcome back to another episode of Harry Potter, Part 10. We left off with Harry and Ron being told by Hermione that Hagrid might be in some serious trouble, and they've got to get to the Forbidden Forest before anyone else to find out what's going on. So, let's just get right into it. As the trio approached the edge of the Forbidden Forest, Ron nearly tripped over a tree root. "Come on, Ron," said Harry, trying not to laugh at his best friend, but Ron was more shaken than he expected. "I don't want to do this," he whispered. "What if it's a big, hairy spider?" At that moment, Harry heard a twig snap behind him. He turned around slowly. It was too dark to see anything, but the forest seemed to be watching them. He felt hundreds of eyes boring into him. Suddenly, the ground rumbled. Harry and Ron fell flat on their faces. "What was that?" Ron squeaked. Just then, a pair of glowing red eyes appeared above them. Harry and Ron stared up in horror as a giant spider dropped down onto its 8 legs. It's one of Hagrid's He recognized these huge, hairy spiders from herbology class. The spider looked down at them menacingly. "Don't move," Harry whispered to Ron. "Don't move." The spider scuttled closer and closer, its many legs clicking on the stones. When it was close enough, Harry could see its many beady eyes staring straight at him. He had never seen a spider this big. It was almost as big as Hagrid, with thick, black, tar-like webs stuck to its legs. Ron gulped and closed his eyes. Then, suddenly, the spider screeched and leaped away. "It's gone," Harry whispered. "Quick, let's go." Harry and Ron took off running deeper into the forest. After what felt like hours, they finally stopped to catch their breath. "Where are we?" Harry gasped. All around them were huge trees, so tall that they blotted out the moonlight. "I don't know," Ron replied, equally breathless, "but I'm sure Hagrid isn't here." Just then, a familiar voice boomed through the trees. Well, if it isn't young Harry Potter and Ronald Weasley. "What brings you to Lovebirds to the Forbidden Forest?" The boys whirled around to face the speaker. It was Aragog, the giant spider who had nearly crushed them earlier. Aragog raised one of his hairy legs and gestured to a large opening between some of the trees. "Over there," he rasped. "Come inside." Harry and Ron exchanged nervous glances. "Why did you lead us to a spider's den?" Ron hissed at "Because I want to help you," Aragog replied. "Hagrid is innocent. He didn't give away the whereabouts of the Chamber of Secrets." Harry's eyes widened. Hagrid hadn't done it, but if he hadn't, then who had? "You know who did?" Aragog said, fixing his beady eyes on Harry. "You really want to know who gave away the location of the Chamber of Secrets? Then you need to see something." Harry and Ron nodded slowly, still wary of the giant spider. "Very well," Aragog said. "Follow me." Aragog led them through the trees and across a small stream until they came to a large clearing. In the center of the clearing was a deep pit filled with thick, black webs. A cold wind blew from the pit, making the hair on the back of Harry's neck stand on end. Aragog pointed one of his legs toward the pit. "Whatever it is you're looking for," he rasped. "It's down there." Harry and Ron exchanged glances. Were they about to look into the very pit of the earth? Did they really have no other choice? Harry thought about all the clues that had led them here. The mysterious messages written on the walls, the attacks on Hermione, the discovery of the diary. It had all led them here. But what exactly were they looking for? The answer, Harry realized, lay hidden in the darkness below. Harry took a deep breath and climbed down into the pit. Ron followed closely behind him. As they descended, the air grew colder and damper. Finally, they reached the bottom of the pit. Before them lay a vast cavern, its walls covered with slimy moss and strange luminous plants. In the center of the cavern was a large pool of water, its surface so still that it was like a mirror. Harry and Ron stared into the pool, their reflections staring back at them. But as they watched, the reflections began to change. They became distorted, then twisted, then turned into something else. Harry gasped. Looking back at them from the pool were 2 pairs of glowing yellow eyes. Suddenly, a massive shape rose from the pool. It was a snake, but not just any snake. It was a giant serpent with scales like burnished gold and eyes that glittered like emeralds. The monster reared its head back and let out a deafening hiss. Harry and Ron stared in awe and terror at the creature before them. It was the most magnificent and terrifying thing they had ever seen. "What is that?" Ron whispered, his voice shaking. Even Aragog seemed afraid of the creature. "That," he rasped, "is the most dangerous monster in the world." "That is a basilisk." Ron paled. "The Chamber of Secrets," he breathed. "It was opened." "Yes," Aragog said, his voice barely a whisper. "And the monster within is loose." Harry felt a surge of anger and determination. He knew that this was the same creature that had been attacking students all year, turning them to stone with a single glance. He also knew that he had to stop it, but how could he possibly defeat such a powerful monster? As if reading his mind, Aragog spoke again. "Only one thing can defeat a basilisk," he rasped. "A sword made of pure silver." Harry's eyes widened. He remembered the sword now. It had been hanging on the wall of the hidden chamber, glinting in the torchlight. At that moment, Ron let out a yell. "We need to get out of here," he shouted. "This place is insane." But before they could move, the basilisk struck. It lunged out of the pool, its jaws wide open, ready to strike. Harry reacted instinctively, pulling Ron out of the way just in time. The basilisk's fangs grazed Ron's arm, leaving a small cut. "Run!" Harry yelled to run as he scrambled to his feet. "Grab the sword." Ron hesitated for a moment, then nodded and ran for the hidden chamber. Harry knew that he had to distract the basilisk, give Ron time to grab the sword, so he stood his ground, facing the monster. The basilisk hissed, then lunged again. This time, Harry dodged out of the way and ran for cover. He could hear the scraping of the basilisk's claws on the stone behind him. He dared not look back. He just kept running until he reached the opening of the cave. With a final burst of speed, he scrambled out of the pit and collapsed on the forest floor, gasping for breath. He looked back at the cave, his heart pounding. He could hear the basilisk roaring in anger. Suddenly, he saw Ron emerge from the opening, holding the silver sword high above his head. "Got it," he yelled to Harry, his voice shaking. Harry nodded and gestured for Ron to come closer. Together, they crept back to the edge of the clearing, hiding behind a large tree. The basilisk emerged from the cave, its eyes blazing with fury. It spotted Ron and let out a deafening hiss. "Go," Harry whispered to Ron, "before it's too late." Ron took a deep breath and stepped out from behind the tree. The basilisk lunged, but Ron was ready. He raised the sword and struck the basilisk across the snout. The basilisk recoiled, hissing in pain. Ron pressed his attack, lunging forward with the sword. The basilisk dodged, then struck back. The sword flew out of Ron's hand and clattered to the ground. The basilisk reared back, ready to strike the killing blow, but before it could do so, Harry stood in its path. "No," he yelled, his eyes blazing with defiance. The basilisk paused, its eyes narrowed. For a moment, it seemed as though it might strike Harry down, but then, to Harry's surprise, it turned and fled, slithering back into the cave. Ron rushed to Harry's side, his eyes wide with worry. "Are you all right?" he asked. Harry nodded, but he couldn't speak. He was still staring at the cave, his eyes wide with disbelief. The basilisk had fled, but he knew that it would be back. He could feel it, something dark and evil stirring in the shadows, but for now it was gone. Harry and Ron looked at each other, their faces pale in the moonlight. They had survived the encounter with the basilisk, but they knew that the battle was not yet over. They would have to face the monster again, and next time, it might not be so merciful. So, that's where we'll end part 10. If you liked this video, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, so you aren't miss the next video in this series. And thank you for watching.